Welcome, beloved, to this series, Living the Tarot, where we are going in sequential order of the major arcana cards, looking at how it represents the archetypes of the Fool's or the Hero's journey. So thus, yourself in your journey, right? Meditating on this card and what it might mean for you. And so, yeah, we are on the Moon card. We finished up the Star card. We're on to the Moon card, so we are almost done. And I'd love to know your thoughts, if you have any, on different revelations that you've had, how it's resonated for you. All right, so we'll take a look at how this fits into the Fool's part of the journey. Could anything spoil this serenity for the Fool? At this point in his journey, he is susceptible to fantasy and a false picture of the truth. The Moon stimulates imagination, but can also cause the subconscious to bring hidden fears and anxieties to the surface. This leaves the Fool bewildered and a little hurt. Can you think of a time when you went through a difficult transition in your life, right? We all face them. Afterwards, whilst we are glad the event is over, we often have an unrealistic view or thoughts of how to proceed. It is important, therefore, at this point, that the Fool takes some time to analyze his thoughts and feelings, as they may not be as valid as they appear to be. Right? How do you see yourself fitting in with this, right? I can definitely relate. There's a bit of me now going through that, getting ready for the next chapters of life. What needs to be shed? What is real? What's an illusion? And what's on my plate to deal with, to handle? How does this fit for you, beloved? Okay, so I will read from the Holistic Tarot. I just like the interpretation. Some things I agree with, some things I don't, and I will fill in as needed. And then we will take a look at maybe an affirmation to go with it if you want to say one while you're meditating, and maybe some other info. Okay, so it's a water sign, right? For the sign of Pisces. It means reflection, changes, imagination. Okay. Between the two pillars, a dog and a wolf howl at the moon, one on each side of a path leading from the water to the mountains. A crayfish crawls out onto the land. A waxing moon is embedded in the sun. The sun moon has a face, a side profile, stern and in the deep contemplation. Leaves from the tree of life float down to earth. A reflection of the inner self is emerging. The moon represents the shadow of the self, the unconscious mind, repressed weaknesses. It suggests that the accumulated repressions are now causing the seeker's shadow to surface and affect the self-conscious. Facets that have been repressed or are latent in the seeker are now emerging and influencing the present consciousness. There is a tension between that which has been repressed and that which is in the present consciousness, and that tension is a source of the seeker's problems. The theme of the moon is constant change, duality, and dichotomy. The tame side and the wild side are at odds. Intuition is strong. There may be secrets. If you compare this to the imagery in the High Priestess, which represents personal mystery, whereas the moon represents physical mystery. The High Priestess suggests secrets that a person is withholding. The moon represents secrets of the natural world, the hidden condition of the seeker's situation that will reveal itself in time. The moon represents poetry and mystery. It suggests the seeker within hidden abilities to harness both tame elements and wild elements. It suggests a mystical or metaphysical mystery. It is about latent abilities. It's about disguise. It's about the revelation of the inner self. The crayfish or lobster in the foreground symbolizes the seeker's emotional and intuitive state. It suggests the prevailing water energies in the seeker's life. The crawfish is also a scavenger, suggesting a subconscious inclination in the seeker to take from emotional leftovers, to scavenge in a sense. The seeker is perhaps unaware of his or her own scavenger inclinations, since on the card the crayfish is depicted as emerging from the pool of unconscious knowledge. There is a strong theme of conversation in the card, rather than exploration or expansion. There's also a sense of needing to feel protected, and thus forming the tough outer shell. Simultaneously, there's a profound vulnerability that the seeker is trying to conceal from others. In the Middle Ages, the crawfish was believed to have medicinal properties and was to ward off the plague. Note the reoccurring theme of the plague from the death card. Likewise, another symbol recurs between the twin pillars. In the death card, the twin pillars were in the background and in between the pillars of a bright sunrise. Here, with the moon, the twin pillar occupies the center. Now the sun has risen fully to its peak in the sky. The sun simultaneously now depicts a waxing moon, symbolizing growth, development, and ascension. There is a direct progression from the death card to the moon. The seeker went through a transformative process, a personal metamorphosis, and now the seeker possesses the intuition and premonition needed to alter his or her own fate for the better. Also here, there is a symbolic reference to the sun rising from the waters. A winding path similar to that on the Temperance leads from the water up through the mountain peaks to the sun. And here, it is a sun moon, and it has risen rather than is rising. The development may suggest that the first light of the divine, the first clarity to be offered, comes from the moon, the reflection, rather than the sun itself. It's a very interesting point. I like that. The Temperance card suggests harmonious balance between the seeker's known conscious and the repressed unconscious. The moon, however, indicates the seeker's repressed unconscious. There is resistance in the seeker against the surfacing of the unconscious thought into the conscious due to fear or hyperactive defense mechanisms. There is a conflict between the known conscious and the repressed unconscious, which is the root cause of the seeker's anxiety, depression, other mental disturbances, and sense of disquiet that the seeker experiences. If the card is in the future, unforeseen perils are ahead, and the seeker must use intuition to avoid them. What those perils are will be determined by the other cards in the spread. The moon card is advising the seeker to maximize use of intuition. The essence of water in the card corresponds with the interpersonal relationships, so be watchful of deceptive people nearby. The seeker must go with his or her gut instinct about people. Invisible forces are present. Ocean tides are caused by gravitational attraction of the moon. The moon's pull may not be able to defy the Earth's gravity except when it comes to the water, which is in that element. The moon is governed by a seeker with a great deal of water energy in her life is going to be affected by the moon. In practical application, when the moon card appears in a reading, there is an external invisible force pulling on the seeker that is causing the changing tides of his or her life. That invisible force is what the seeker must understand and work in harmony with in order for the seeker's life to feel balanced again. When you're looking at the sun card, and it's the signifier for the society's warrior king and chieftain. The moon then would be the signifier for society's magi, priest or shaman. The moon and the high priestess are interrelated. The high priestess bears esoteric knowledge, while the moon is the beginning manifestation into consciousness of the esoteric knowledge. The moon is a mysticism and mythos of civilization that resonates with a deeper cosmic truth. Yin energy is dominant. The moon could also relate to the sign of Pisces, right? Tarotist Dr. James Wanless interprets the moon as a soulmate card. Likewise, it can indicate the seeker's soul purpose. It's interesting. I've not heard of it said like that. How does that make you feel, beloved, when you hear about this? A lot of the unconscious coming to the conscious and fears, shedding light and truth. Hearing those words and seeing the imagery, the Rider-Waite on the left and the Arcanum on the right, which are all very differently depicted. Okay, if this card comes out in a love reading, depending on the reader and the spread, it could indicate how love appears externally differs from how love is for the seeker internally. Do not overly sacrifice the self for the partner. Opposites attract. If this card comes out in a professional development reading, it could mean how it looks on the outside will be different from how it looks on the inside. Be perceptive and alert so that the seeker can see the truth through the smoke. Okay, if you are meditating on this card and you want to use an affirmation, you can use, it's not that I'm changing, it's that I am finally revealing. Emotion and intuitions converge to guide me. It's not that I'm changing, it's that I'm finally revealing. Emotion and intuition converge to guide me. That's beautiful. So, beloved, when you think of the moon, right, and when you think of, the star preceding it and the sun following after, what does that make you think as far as how this relates to life and how much light shed or not shed on a situation can affect you, right? And then we know the moons that affect us can affect our emotions, how we handle things. We often joke about, you know, is there the full moon when the full moon is out? So it has a lot of layered meaning here. A lot of layered meaning. So what are you most familiar with, and how does that resonate for you? And hearing some new, maybe different perspectives on what it could mean, how does that change for you in your relationship to this card and these energies? Well, beloved, I hope you have a fabulous time meditating on this card, and stay tuned, and we will bring the Sun card next time, probably midweek. Have a fabulous day and stay grounded.